So we talked about Steve King in Iowa, who recently made some ridiculous statements. And he's made ridiculous statements in the past. I mean, he has been a sympathizer for white supremacy. He has made these ridiculous pro-rape comments as of recent. Well, guess what? It kind of cost him. He held a town hall. How many people showed up? Well, there have been varying reports. The attendance ranges from 1 to 2. Seriously, some outlets are saying he had 2 people. Others are saying there was just literally 1 person. Now, I guess maybe there was like somebody from the staff or something who sat down, and that was where they were like, oh, there's 2 people. That's probably what happened because he had some staff there. But according to the local media in Iowa, there was actually 1 person, 1 actual attendee who showed up, and they interviewed her. So check this out. Interview, the only person who attended Steve King's forum. So here's the question. Does Steve King maybe just have 1 dedicated fan? Does Steve King maybe have 1 fan in Iowa who was like, this was all taken out of context? Those weren't actually white supremacist sympathizing quotes. Those weren't actually rape sympathizing quotes. They were taken out of context somehow. So you go back and you look at what he said. You feel like you need a shower. But somehow that was taken out of context. After everything he said, by the way, what I just said was really bad, and I don't mean any of it. They didn't include that part. That's what he actually said. He was like, oh, by the way, I was joking around about everything I just said. I don't mean any of that. Why are we joking around about something so heinous in this situation? I don't know. I'm a weird guy. What can I say? I don't know. But does he have 1 dedicated fan? Let's find out. Let's go to the article and find out. The only person who attended Steve King's forum. Look at that. Look at this empty podium. Look at this empty podium. You know, if Steve King decides to run for president, MSNBC would show this podium before they would show Bernie Sanders. All right. It was early Saturday morning, and Jessica Birch didn't feel like getting out of bed. Hungover and tired, the 21-year-old University of Northern Iowa student could easily have turned off her alarm. I remember those days. But the night before, she saw a Facebook event for Congressman Steve King's Town Hall Forum in Grundy County come across her feed. She felt a civic duty to attend. So she arrived. So basically, this was not a dedicated fan. This was a hungover 21-year-old college student who felt like she had a civic duty to attend. Is it because she's a fan of him? No, it's not. Let's keep going. All right. So there were a bunch of police cars there for security. Here's what the student, here's what Birch had to say. What was her first name again? Jessica. Here's what Jessica Birch had to say about it. She sees a bunch of police cars when she shows up. I looked at them. They looked at me, she said, of the 4 to 6 police officers. King's staff opened the door, and she wrote her name. It was the only one on the sign-in sheet. A few staff and 1 photographer were the only people on hand. She planned on sitting in the back of the room. When King entered, he walked back to her to greet her, and then she moved herself closer. So here's what she has to say about it. It was very awkward. It was a very weird thing. Part of me wanted to leave, but it would be rude to leave, and the Midwestern part of me couldn't do that. So Steve King was able to have a town hall because of her Midwestern politeness. She was like, I'm too polite to get up, so this guy can have a town hall. This disgraced politician gets to have a town hall. And you know what? Kudos to her for staying, because I personally would have wanted to stay as well. Although, you know what? For me, it wouldn't have been politeness. It would have been, I want to watch this guy squirm. He had a town hall, and the only person who showed up is me, and I'm not a fan. All right, but anyway. So let's go back to the article. King began his 1-person forum with a joking reference to Rick Santorum, reminiscing on how Santorum thanked a woman who was once his only attendee at a caucus event. Oh, King. You and Rick Santorum have a lot more than that in common, Steve King. You guys actually have a lot in common. And don't worry, you can always be a contributor to Fox News. All right. So King responded, and I guess he talked about his issues, gave a bunch of his nonsense. Here's some of his nonsense here. Our welfare system that we have, this is Steve King, quote, is a disincentive for them to go to work. I guess he's parroting his talking points from 1994. Employers will come to me about Section 8 housing. Okay, so now he's bagging on Section 8. All right, so Birch politely responded, my question really wasn't about Section 8 people, Birch politely responding. The people I've dealt with, they're hardworking. Housing has been an important issue, and it's just one of those things that's just never talked about like ever. She told the starting line, we talk about healthcare, we talk about immigration. So she brought up the issue of housing. She brought up the issue of housing as an issue important to her, and he just spit out some right-wing talking points at her about how welfare is bad because it's disincentivizing people to work, and how Section 8 housing isn't good. That's what he did. She brought up housing, the housing crisis. You know how I feel about housing? I feel that housing should be designated a human right, and we should not have any... Yeah, you know, as I get older, I'm against private property. I don't think it should be a thing. And when I say that, I don't mean this isn't my shirt. This is my shirt. I mean housing. I think housing should be a human right, and we should not have any, like, housing should be, it should be overseen, and it should be guaranteed that everybody has a right to housing, and we're all treated as renters, and we're treated fairly as renters. Like, you pay into the housing system for so long, and then eventually, you know, your fees go down as if you actually owned your home. Anyway, we don't have time to get into all that. That would be like if I was starting a society from scratch. That would be one of the things I would have there. There wouldn't necessarily be private property. You could live in your place as long as you want, and then you pay rent on it just as if you're a normal renter. But housing would be a human right. Housing would be guaranteed for everybody, regardless of their income level, regardless of their ability to afford it. And we would do that by having it be overseen and run by the municipality in the city. Anyway, don't have time to dive into that right now. But Steve King, she brought up the issue of housing. Steve King just spit out some right-wing talking points to her. So let's see what else happened in her experience. So King, who at one point had a Confederate flag on his desk. All right. He then spoke about the civil rights area. Okay. So here we go. This is great. Here we go. Once the hour-long forum was finished, King's staff encouraged her to get a photo with the congressman. I politely declined, mostly because I plan to run for office and I don't need a picture of Steve King and I shaking hands in the future. Ha! Yes! That is brilliant. Hey, will you get a picture with the congressman? No. Why doesn't she want to? Because she plans on running for office and she doesn't need that skeleton in her closet. Steve King, how did you not just resign in disgrace immediately after that moment? I need some more coffee just because of how ridiculous that whole, for instance, is. One person shows up to your town hall, Steve King, and it's not a fan. It's not like, oh, you got one fan. It's somebody who doesn't like you but feels a civic obligation because she's interested in politics. She might run for office one day. She disagrees with you on everything. She doesn't agree with any of your stances. She's just there because she feels like she has a civic obligation. She wanted to talk to you about housing, and I'm sure your answers disappointed her immensely. And then when she had an opportunity to get a photo with you, she declined because she knows that would come back to haunt her later because she plans on running for office, and she knows that archaic right-wing mouthpieces like you are slowly going away, Steve King. You're slowly going the way of the buffalo. Not quick enough. Not quick enough. Politicians like Steve King need to get primaried out, and they need to get primaried out years ago. But it's slowly shifting. And the Rick Santorums and the Steve Kings of the world, they're going away. They're going away. A lot of times what replaces them are just Republicans that talk slightly more politely. But they're going away. We'll try to be. That's hilarious. You wouldn't even get a picture with them. Will you get a pic? No, this could, no, I mean, I try, this could show up on social media, and I'm trying to date, you know, this could hurt that. I don't want to do this. Yeah, no thanks. I'm going to pass. I don't want a picture. How did Steve King not just resign in disgrace after that happened? How did he not just be like, yep, it's over for me. I am totally done. This is humiliating. That's what he should have done. If Steve King had any self-awareness, he would have resigned in disgrace right then and there. Maybe he still will. It's not too late. We'll keep an eye on it. Maybe he did. Maybe as of the recording of this, he just resigned in disgrace. Well, let's find out. Steve King resigned. Oh, no. It looks like he didn't resign, but instead he asked for an apology. He said he deserves an apology over the coverage of his rape and incest comments. You know, that coverage was really unfair to him. What did they do? They quoted exactly what he said. It's really unfair. They quoted him. Shucks. All right, Steve King, totally unaware. Has one person show up to his town hall, thinks he's owed an apology from the media. Good job, Steve King.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your